and welcome to G4G Live, episode 3. We have our pre-E3 hype, predictions, wants, desires, what we actually expect, what we think is going to happen show going on right now as we are all getting pretty hyped for E3 coming up just this weekend. In fact, actually, Sony started off a little bit early today, which I will mention a little bit later after we get through some of the topics. I have with me today Moxie, of course. She's there with her Moxie on the move look, as usual, looking good. How you doing, Moxie?
I am so excited for E3. I can't even take care of myself and my hair or anything anymore. It's just crazy.
No, I understand it for sure. We also have Easy returning. He joined us on episode 2, did a great job. Really love what he has to say. He is back. How you doing, Easy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing tonight? Hopefully everyone's ready for a fun show. We got a lot of good topics and a lot of good opinions just from pre-show. I think it's going to be great. But next time, thanks for having me back. It was a lot of fun last time, so I'm looking forward to another great show.
Oh, definitely, man. Also with us today, we have From Smash Podcast, one of my favorite podcasts that doesn't actually cover a lot of gaming. Sometimes you guys will bring up some gaming topics, but you guys do a great job covering film, all the big blockbuster movies, independent stuff, anime, manga, a lot of other different great topics going on with Smash. I have Operation and Bloody Knuckles. How you doing, Operation?
What is up, everyone? Glad to be here for the first time. Really enjoyed the show. Always been a big fan of G4G, even though I wasn't there from the beginning, but I am now. It's okay, y'all. But yeah,
you and Easy were like two of the first people we ever connected with, actually, and been two of our biggest supporters. So thank you so much.
Yeah, they're our biggest promoters for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I gravitate towards genuine people. That's just how I am.
Oh, thank you.
Same here.
Yeah, but just real glad to be here. I'm just glad to talk about these topics with y'all, especially as far as E3, because there's been a lot of cool predictions, a lot of real wild ones too. But we're gonna cover them in the show.
Yeah, definitely. And Knuckles, nice to have you here, Knuckles.
Oh,
how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing real good. Like Op said, when I first found y'all, when I first heard y'all back on Xbox Nation like months ago, I was in love with the way y'all presented facts and information. You and Moxie both had y'all's, obviously y'all's preferences. Y'all are always very about the facts and information, very forward. And then when I got to meet y'all on GRG with K-Meg and the rest of them, me and you just connected like instantaneously. And then shortly after, I started talking with Moxie a lot more, and I've just been big fans of y'all. And I actually had you out on Smash not that long ago when we were talking about Infinity War, because you're just like, you've been wanting to come out for a while, and you're just like, you wanted to wait for the perfect time. So you waited exactly for that. So it's just been a great connection between G4G and Smash over there. So, just great to be here to be able to talk with y'all guys.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Sad thing his friend couldn't come out because Disney be on the NSA stuff. And he watched it. That man has no freedom once he signs up for him.
That's true. All right, so we were going to do a little bit of break nice, but we do have a lot of topics tonight, so we'll actually go ahead and kind of just get right into them. Before we get to the E3 stuff, though, there's something that's been on the minds of a lot of people. A lot of people have been talking about this all over social media, YouTube, everywhere, and that was the recent interview with Matt Booty with I believe it was a UK magazine, a digital magazine that you can click through. What is it again, Easy? Is it MCV?
I think it's MCV. I always think MVC like Marvel versus Capcom.
I know.
Yeah,
same thing here. So Matt Booty did this interview recently talking about where Microsoft is going. I feel like Microsoft has done a good job over the last few years of kind of giving you hints in their interviews. Phil has done it. Even Satya has done it. Pretty much everybody that's done interviews. Shannon Lofless let it kind of slip that they might be working on stuff like Quantum Break 2 or something else going on. She also mentioned a couple of other games that we're now starting to hear actually a little bit of hype that they might actually be in development. We're going to find out here this weekend, I do believe. So that's kind of cool that they give you these hints in these interviews. He had a lot to say, and everybody here, I think, has a different viewpoint or a slightly different viewpoint on exactly what that information means. So I'm going to start with Operation, who had some great points in the pre-show. What was your take on Matt Booty, what he said about Microsoft, what he said about the first-party development for Xbox, and where they're going?
Well, there's two takes you can do with this. You can take the internet's take, where they can't read, have terrible comprehension skills, and just take this one up with it. Or you can look at it from a resource perspective and interpret how it's supposed to be and say it's like they do have a committed single player, but also games as a service as well moving forward. Like, yes, they're not giving us single players, and like I don't know why people thought that, because they said they're harder to, and it's just not. Of course, it is hard to do single player. It's more big for a risk, because usually for some most single player games, there's not that long term plan you have with it. Either that base game right there is either good or is not. And if it's not good, it's dead right there, pretty much.
Mhm.
But yeah, but now people have this weird hate against games as service now. Like apparently now they're, I guess, the bane of all existence in the game communities. Where I strictly remember most of them reminiscing over World of Warcraft and previous older games as a service, but we're gonna leave that alone. But as far as the article, yes, I agree with you saying they're taking games as a service, moving forward with them as well. Because yes, they are a business and they are doing this for the games as well, but they have to be profitable at the same time. Because if the lights are not keep on these devs, you don't get more games. But yeah, that's just how I look at it with this article.
No, that's definitely some great points there. So Moxie, what is your take on what you saw, what you read, what you understand as well, in addition to what Operation just said?
So I made a bullet list when I read that, because there was actually several points discussed. Everybody's focusing on just this one little teeny tiny thing and mistaking this teeny tiny thing, but there were several interesting things. So the way I take the single player comment is like, Microsoft knows their business. They know what's profitable. They know what makes them money, and you have to make money to be able to fund new games. So I took it as like multiplayer games are funding the ability to have these single player games because they make money for a long time. So to have the money for that, you need to have that ongoing support. Something else interesting in there, kind of on a different topic, was they have done their numbers and their analysis of Games Pass, and it is not cannibalizing their game sales. Like it's even a better balance toward the sales side than they expected, and they had a solid expectation for what that was going to be. So that was interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you on that, Moxie, because for the longest, when Game Pass was announced, all these gamers on the internet, YouTube, were saying, with Game Pass now, it means they're going to dilute their first party, going to break up more mediocre games. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, okay, if you're trying to reason by saying that Sea of Thieves and Stay Tuned were launched broken because of Game Pass, are you really telling me that Phil Spencer and other execs walked through these desks, told, hey, I know you're trying to make this game as polished as possible, but purposely gimp it, hurt your own sales, just because of Game Pass? Like, that makes literally no sense. While a developer, I'm not saying because people are hash are lazy devs or not, just some things in programming you miss, so games might come out a little buggy. But like, while a developer purposely put themselves in that position, they have to spend a week or so trying to fix the game when no people will be able to play it at all, just because of Game Pass, because they can buy the game for $10, get others. That logically makes no sense. That's how you know people don't put no thoughts in these narratives they push. They just take something they saw their friends say and just run with it. And it becomes the truth to most of these people out here.
Oh no, I completely agree with those points. Easy, what is your take on what's going on?
Well, really for me, and I was reading, I didn't get to read like every bit of the article because my internet was sucking at work. But I got some basic points. But I know he's talking about, of course, the big AAA games, and we all like single player focused. But one of the things I think people will freak out about when you hear games as a service, or you have to have a year or two commitment. They think, oh, microtransactions and other stuff are bad things, when it could be just DLC, added story, other added modes, and just a lot of different stuff. And to me, I'm thinking, okay, like I'll go with like some specific games for me. Like God of War, I love. When I play that, I've platinumed it and done everything. But really, I mean, as far as I know, I don't think there's any DLC planned or story. Or I'm sure, how popular it is. They'll have to have something down the road. A few months from now, they'll add a release for it. But for me, I've done everything I want to do, and I'm like, I'm done with it. So, I mean, it's a great game. I bought it, played it in a month, but I've no reason to play it anymore unless they had, some more content. And same with like some others. Like, I know Quantum Break was great, and I enjoyed that a lot. But I know I saw some people mention this, and I kind of feel too, even though it's a great game, I feel it would be even better if they had like some kind of horde mode or something where, you can like go off and enjoy your powers of fighting people, or just some additional thing, keep wanting to play. Because a lot of these games, if it's story-based, it's great. But then once you're done, unless you just want to replay it. And the Quantum Break, I mean, it gave 2 playthroughs because you can do the other choices, kind of go a different route and enjoy 2 different games. But when you're done, you're done. And then you see, like Uncharted 4 even, and Last of Us, amazing story-based games. But they still even have some, has some multiplayer. So, you still have longevity in playing that. And to me, options are always good. I mean, if you're not into multiple, like Call of Duty, I mean, I know there's a big stink about the single player being removed, and I'm not a big Call of Duty fan. But you see how many different modes are on there where you had the story mode, but then the campaign, but you had the multiplayer, and then you had the zombies. You got different things. And some people buy a game just for one specific mode and enjoy doing that. So it's like the more options you have in games, the better. So I feel, if a lot of these single player games, they'll help extend the longevity of it if you add, different modes and then, options. I mean, to me, options are never bad, but I mean, there's a lot of games I'm kind of like, man, I wish they had more modes where I could play longer. And then
I feel you on that for sure. A lot of what I have in my backlog. I'll go into this here in a little bit because I want to read a message in the chat. Eric the Red is in the chat. Thank you for showing up, Eric. He has a great one. He says, and I'm asking this to everybody on the panel, you think they should just make Halo and Gears multiplayer free to play and evolve them over time, kind of sticking with the service thing? What do you guys think of that?
It's actually funny he brought it up because actually I had an idea of that for like a Halo type game, right? Of course, it has to be separate from the mainline Halos because there always be people who gravitate towards that. But if they do it right, it can work for Halo. Gears, I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think it would work for Gears, really.
You think it will more than Halo?
No, I don't. I said I don't think it'll work for Gears, really. For Halo, I could definitely see it because we kind of saw how they evolved Warzone and everything with Halo 5. So that could definitely fit that mold. But right now with Gears multiplayer, they don't really have anything like that can fit that free-to-play aspect that'll support it, because Gears is very traditional and what really helped kind of push esports open, because think of the high competitive nature of it using to be 4v4 before they made it the 5v5. It's always been TDM, King of the Hill, and things like that. But as for making it a free to play, there's not a particular mode that could do it. I mean, they kind of did it with the escalation mode, but with escalation, that's more the competitive scene for Gears 4. But I mean, that one still is very 5v5. That's not something that's gonna work on a large free to play scale. Whereas like Warzone supports 12v12 or 16v16, and then you look at larger scale games that do the free to play aspect. Those are supporting big team battle games, or you get the battle royale with like Fortnite and others. There's nothing that these modes right now currently can support a free to play style multiplayer. Now, if they were to make something original for that aspect, it's a possibility. But as of right now, they don't have anything that could support that aspect.
Right, and just let's think about the logistics of that as well. Like for half the free play game, they'll create a separate whole studio for that. Especially with like this Halo idea I have, like it's we're just gonna call it Halo Frontier for now, right? Think of like the perfect combination of Mass Effect, MGS5, right, and like Destiny, and have that crap like expand across the whole solo system, right? You have your own base set up, different plans. You have different objectives you can take over, whatnot, take over Covenant, Flood, AR factions, whatever. Make that free to play, like multiplayer, daily events, monthly, like big time events, stuff like that. For that to be able to achieve in a free to play realm, you have to pretty much buy a whole new studio and staff that. That's true. Pretty much pull a Fortnite with, right? To take all their staff dedicated to the Fortnite PUBG, pretty much. The parents have to do the same thing for his Halo free to play game if they want to do it the right way.
I think that accessibility, though, is really that's the idea behind Games Pass, because free to play is about accessibility. It's about more people being able to get a hold of it. So I think with Microsoft doing Games Pass, that allows some of that money to still come in, but people get a lot easier access to those types of games without having to do a free to play model and going with all the things that come along with that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Easy, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with they were just saying. I really don't have a strong opinion on that. But
I'll go because I don't want to skip over you, Knuckles. So, I mean, what's your take on what's your takeaway for that interview that Matt Booty did essentially?
Man, like I said, it was something that was taken severely out of context, and everyone kind of touched around it. And as Moxie pointed out, Game Pass isn't cannibalizing their sales. actually it's helping to add new player numbers, and some of those people are turning around and purchasing the game because we're seeing the consistency. Now you do see a drop off when sometimes it's not what people want, but that's what they want. They want to get people to try something that they may not have tried otherwise, because people are not afraid to drop $10 compared to 60. You know, why are you going to go out and buy a game that you're already not sure of when you can play it on launch day for a fraction of the cost? We're seeing that. We saw that with Sea of Thieves, but you know, we saw the quick drop off because some of those people did come off. We're not playing it after Game Pass, but that's the experiment of it. It helps to entice more people into trying those things. The single player aspect that he was talking about is that single players are in a very unique space, and that's the fact of, while they are great story driven games, they are narrative driven games. They can create these magnificent experiences that, once those experiences are done, not everyone is going to keep playing them. You know, when you finishes a single player story, you're not going to do it 10 times in a row. You may go back to it over time because you're just oh, I want to play that. Like look at BioShock. You know, they remastered the BioShock games and re-released them, you know, a couple years back. And the trilogy release. That's great, because BioShock 1 still probably one of the greatest stories I had, and had the biggest shock on me because of the impact that the story left, because it did touch on a lot of serious aspects. Now, what he was saying is that games as a service is something that is the future. It's something that we cannot deny. But he's saying that single player aspects and single player games are still affected by that, but not in the traditional sense of what people think. Single player games get constant expansions and updates and continue to get more over time. Look at what, like I said before in the pre-show, look at what they did with Final Fantasy 15. Massive single player game, great RPG. While some people didn't like the story, it did hit a lot of great points. But what did they do with a lot of the complaints people that had? They offered this episodic expansions that told everyone else's story on what was going on within the world, as well as adding new aspects to it, because each story added a completely different gameplay style based on those characters. And episode Gladio, you were a little bit more of a tank, and the way that he uses weapons was a lot more aggressive than Noctis. You look at episode Prompto, they added a lot of guns there, and there was a lot more sneaking and a lot of aspects like that, as well as look at episode Ignis and all that. Then later they added a multiplayer aspect with the comrades that helped to fill in that 10-year gap in the story. And now they're doing another 4 episodes of content. That's how you support a single player game. That's what he's saying when single player games are also a service, is that they continue to need that expansion. They need to continue to have that support. He's not saying that single player games are completely off the cards. Everyone who took that at face value is completely didn't obviously read what he was trying to infer. He's saying that they are in a spot where they need to be consistently updated and maintained compared to multiplayer games, which get those more frequently because of the higher engagement rate that they have. Look at Halo. Warzone has completely evolved from the launch of Halo 5 to where it is now, as well as we've seen with Blitz mode and a couple others. We didn't see a lot of expansions to the narrative, to the single player and really co-op story, but it was still getting support. Look at Gears 4. Look at what they've done with Horde. How many events have they done with Horde? Moxie, you and Avers know, y'all play that frequently. Horde has consistently gotten updates and special events all the time. They added the 25 round speed mode where it's Frenzy. Every 5 rounds. Yeah, the Frenzy mode. They added the new difficulty with Inconceivable and stuff, and as well as how many times did they keep doing special events for multiplayer. They keep bringing back the snipers only aspect with the one shot one kill, as well as others. That's what he's saying, is that multiplayer games are easier to maintain with those games as a service, with those updates and events and stuff like that, whereas single player games need to have a certain aspect to get that. They don't always get that, but when they do, it helps to keep the longevity in them. Look at what some of the Assassin's Creed did. Look at what just recently with Assassin's Creed Origins, it got 3 good content drops, all adding new story, adding a bunch of stuff, as well as all the end game events, as well as look at the special armor that they got. Yeah, that they had when he had to go and fight the gods through those special in-game events. That's how you support a single player game as a service. That what he's stating is the fact, is that single player games aren't going anywhere anytime soon, as that they just need a proper way to support these in those ways.
If anything, single players are evolving more as well anyway, because they're most of them touch more as games to the servers, which is weird. Some people are trying to demonize games to the servers, but these exact same people bought Dragon Ball Z Fighters day one, Final Fantasy day one, Monster Hunter day one, Injustice 2 day one, Assassin's Creed Origins, as Blake said, day one. These are games as service because yes, they have single player, but they also have content down the line that boosts interaction, engagement. People bring people back into the game. There's nothing wrong with doing games as a service if you do it right. You're not trying to nickel down to people. If you make a quality game that's contained, it's a good story, have extra stuff down the line to bring people back, what's the issue? Like, are all y'all really saying you want like there's the only single player only game, just one little story, one concrete static story, and that's it? So you can replay it over and over. Which, if you want to replay a game over, that's fine. I do it for some games as well. But is that something you want for single players to go towards the future? Like, I hope they all do gangbusters like God of War's doing so far. Because if they do that, they're not gonna keep the lights on. Because not all of them can maintain that. Not all of them can pull that same kind of revenue in or popularity as some single players can do.
You know what's so funny about this is if you actually look at your friends list, a lot of the people who were like saying it's all about single player games, I don't like games as a service, I don't like multiplayer, Xbox is focusing too much on that. You look at your Xbox friends list and those very people are playing multiplayer, continuing games as a service games more often than they're playing single player games.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people that talk trash about State of Decay 2 have been playing it nonstop.
Yeah.
This game's so broken and buggy, but you got like 40 hours in, but it's broken. It's not broken to me if you play it.
I know. I'm so addicted to it. I can't stop playing this crappy game. I know, it's pretty much.
And if it was as buggy as people were saying, they would not continue playing it, much less play it every night from like 6 p.m. to like midnight, which is
Me.
Yeah. Eric the Red, another good one. He said they're on Hulu anyway. There is a lot of that. There is a lot of people that are spending more times on apps. And then if you combine that with the amount of time they spend talking, either on Twitter, spending all day on Twitter, or on podcast or whatever, combination of those two
operations thing.
Yeah, there's more of that going on than there is actual gaming happening, which I think is an interesting thing if you're going to have a viewpoint or an opinion on some of the games that we've been talking about lately. You didn't really put a lot of hours into that. How do you justify the viewpoint that you're now pushing on everybody? It seems like it's kind of a Me Too thing. They want to jump on a bandwagon and hate on something because it's popular to do. And what else are you going to say? So it's kind of that. My take on it before we move on, unless anybody else wants to throw anything else out there about it, was that I feel like he's just trying to be very careful. They're basically good points all around from everybody, but they're basically having to walk that minefield where they're saying, yes, we are going full into services. Yes, we are going to be doing more of those types of things, but we also want to offer a single player thing as well. I don't think they're going to do just a single player thing the way Sony does, the way Nintendo does. I don't think that really makes sense financially for them. Even Sony has said this about their own business model. They've said that only 4 out of every 10 games that they release make money, become profitable. So that's a very low, it's 40% rate on that. You're having to gamble a lot on those 4 to make up for the other 6 that didn't make money. So it's not the best way to really go forward with that. As far as I think, I like what he had to say. I like where they're going with that, and that kind of leads into what we've got. Sort of the big thing right now, obviously, E3. We have our predictions, our estimations, what we think is actually going to happen. We also kind of want to do sort of your wishes. What is your biggest hope as well for the companies? We're going to not so much focus on Nintendo. If anybody wants to talk about them, go ahead. We know that they don't have as big of a presence as Sony and as Microsoft do this year. It's just the way it is right now. So we'll go ahead and start. Who wants to go first with this one?
I'll take a crack at it first.
All
so
right.
Just like touch about Nintendo, Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. But yeah, just a real quick PSA. For anyone trying to twist my words in a previous segment, no, I'm not saying only games and service make money. I'm just saying for most devs, it can be a more lucrative route for them to take. But enough of that. But as far as like expectations from E3, as far as Microsoft, I've been seeing this swarm around Twitter a lot, but I know it's not going to happen. Sunset Overdrive 2. I know. Yeah, I know it's not going to happen.
That'd be nice.
It would be godly if it did, but like at the same time, no. As far as I recognize, Insomniac, they don't. As far as like their main team, they don't work on 2 projects at the same time, especially 2 projects this big. They'll have like their main team focus on one thing, and have like bring a smaller team do something little. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure Insomniac is all hands on decks for Spider-Man. As far as like Sunset Overdrive 2, probably after they're done with Spider-Man, if Microsoft wants to do it, but no, I doubt the thing's happening right now. I really want to see more gameplay from the games they showed last year. And E3 is one of the indies ones as well. Ashen, I'm looking forward to that a lot, especially on taking on Dark Souls X Realm. What else they showed? I really want to see Crackdown 3 because there's been rumors that it's being delayed. Of course, some saying it counts, but we all know that's a bunch of hot air. But if the game is delayed, of course it'll be good for the game, make it as best as possible. Of course, there will be pushback, but if they show us the right gameplay at E3, I'm pretty sure it will either negate most of it or shut people up completely as far as the grasp of Crackdown 3. Any other things? I would like to see a Halo, at least some tease it and have it come out next year. Because I
gotta have a 6, right?
Yeah, Halo 6. Because me personally, I feel for the longest, like the Halo and Gears didn't need an extra year of dev time, maybe more. Because I remember reading up on the development for Halo back in the day, the original trilogy, and like it was like a complete nightmare. They're given like 2.5 years, I believe, to make them. And even though they were successful, it kind of shows how they need a little more time. And of course, we all feel different about Halo 5, but I feel like it had an extra year as far as developing a game. It will be received much better. So I kind of feel like if they show it to Halo 5, Halo 6 will come out next year. I don't want to see Gears 5. We just got Gears in 2016. See it for next E3, so it'll come out the year after that as well. Because last thing I want them to do is rush these games as well. But yeah, I'm expecting to see a bunch of good games from Microsoft. I'm real hyped for them. I'm glad they're not telling us nothing because I like to be surprised. I don't know why everyone wants to turn E3 into like a business meeting, like a board of directors. Everybody comes in, we're going to talk about this, we're going to discuss. Maybe that's the end of it. No, I want to be surprised when I get there. Not saying anything to Sony's press conference because they tell us what they're going to show, but like I like the surprise factor. It adds more oomph to it, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as Sony's, quickly, only thing I'm really looking forward to is Spider-Man. Everything else, they have to really win me on it, whatever they show me, for me to get really invested in them as well. But I'll leave it to you. I said enough about this.
No, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I guess I can take it next because, E3 is always fun because it's still hard to believe it's like just a few days away. And luckily, I've seemed to have not been on Twitter as much as I usually am. I've avoided a good bit of the leaks, so I think I feel surprised though I have heard about like Assassin's Creed and a lot of these others that haven't got much info on them, but I've heard they're coming. So I am looking forward to hear about more about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Same with Fallout. I think that's gonna be good. I know we've heard rumors about that could be online survival. I know where that came from.
Fallout 76.
Yeah, Fallout 76. I saw something like that, but I don't think there's like any really truth or merit to it. It could just be how some of these websites they just throw something out there. Hey, it could be this, but I would love another story expansion. I don't know what it could be because it has been 3 years since Fallout 4, so I mean it's about time for another Fallout. But deep down, I would love them to do like a fake out, like, just kidding, it's not Fallout, it's really Elder Scrolls 6 or something. I would freak out. But I would love one of them. But yeah, there's Xbox is probably the biggest enigma because that's what makes it exciting. Because to me, they could potentially have a E3 like Sony did a couple years ago, where it came out of nowhere. It just said, here's all these games we're working on in development. And I mean, that's another topic if we think they need to do that, because how things have been with Xbox lately, that a lot of people are wondering what their plan is, and all we know really is Crackdown 3 when that's coming, and then Forza Horizon 4, and then like, okay, what's new IP do you have? So it'd be awesome. I really do think they'll bring it, and just I would love to see with Rare. I know they talked about, I'm trying to think what the name of it was, Perfect Dark, possible reboot of that. I don't know, that would be cool.
More than anything else, I want to be Perfect Dark. I guess.
That would be awesome. It's just got so many good. I mean, like you say, you got a good female lead. It's character they own, so it'd be perfect. Opportunity to kind of go that route and have their own strong female lead in a game and kind of reboot it. And it could be just like we had Rise of the Tomb Raider, how that was perfect reboot to how the old games were. And God of War, I mean, that's been a massive success in that reboot. How they did it. You can take any of these IPs that they've had and have not had a game for a while, make it redone or something like that. It'd be great. I would love to have a game like that. And of course, Forza Horizon 4, we have that all the time. But I mean, 3 is probably one of the best racing games I've played. It'd be awesome to see, more about that. And if they add anything extra, of course, like when you see the crew too in that beta, they had some of the speed road races and different stuff. It'd be interesting if Forza, hey, are we going to spread, kind of spread out from just cars and add different modes of stuff? That'd be pretty fun, getting to race, with boats and just change it up. some of the Forza formula and kind of what else they can do to add to the previous game. But I mean, there's a lot I like to see. Of course, I love Halo, so I'd love to see something like that. And like we said with Crackdown, I think a lot of people just want to know any info. Even if it's delayed, just straight come out, okay, this is the status of the game. This is, what's going on. Just something about that. Because it's funny, people are like, I want to see the same game we've heard about for a while, but then, they're also like, I want to see this game. I haven't heard anything about it. I want to see that, it's still going on. So It's just kind of like, that's how it always is at Xbox, They, hear about a game and then you don't want to hear about it, but then you wonder what's going on with it if you don't hear about it. So I would love to, and even if they're supposed to have a beta about it last year, and of course that's been delayed, I would love to have, multiplayer, just show something with that, if it's ready or not. And I agree. I mean, if it's delayed, it's not a big deal, because I think if it doesn't come in the next couple months, we've seen the list of games coming. September is just insane. When I see all the games that are coming that I'm interested in, I'm just like, it'll get drowned out so fast, if they push it and try to do, anytime this fall. So if it takes the time to polish it up, I'm good with it. But, as far as Sony is concerned, I mean, it'd be interesting if they really follow through, like with the league, or they said, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. People were like, oh, that's still a good show. And, of course, the whole day-by-day thing.
Talking about the 4 games?
Yeah, talking about those main 4 games. And then they're going to have multiplayer. It's going to be interesting. Some people still think they'll sneak something in there. But as far as even the main 4 games, Spider-Man, it's like I already know about it, so I'm interested in it. But I'm just like, okay, what else are you going to show? Maybe, other modes or something would be cool. The Ghost game is the one I'm interested in, because that does look like promising. It looks like a game I would enjoy. But
Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah, that one. That looks pretty awesome. And then, and I'm not interested in Death Stranding at all, but I really, I'm interested in just what the heck it is, because you just seen the weird trailers and stuff.
That's
I'm like,
thinking.
what kind of game it is? So I want to see, like, okay, what is this game going to be like? Is it going to be, and if it's anything like Sony, some of their first party games is typical third person action adventure. It could be horror based, which would be pretty cool, having a spin, because I know everyone wanted Silent Hills back years ago and having with Norman Reedus, and sadly that got canceled. So it could be, hey, maybe they want to do a different spin and have a different kind of horror game. That'd be pretty cool, and a little bit something different. So
how they can sell me on
I don't think
game?
I don't think it would be a horror game, because he stated that it's not going to be. And plus, Hideo has come out multiple times saying that he doesn't want to do another horror game because he doesn't like horror. The reason he was originally going to do that was because of the fact that Guillermo del Toro was going to do it with him. And and Guillermo is just guest starring in this one. He's not actually actively on the project with him. So that's the only reason, because Guillermo, being a master of monsters, that's the reason why the horror would have worked in that aspect.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's like, I was just kind of more like, it would be cool to see, but I know we won't see that. But I'm like, with most people, it would be great just to finally see gameplay of it. And then, of course, The Last of Us 2. I mean, it's Last of Us, so people will know it'll be good. So, yeah, it's pretty much the main games I'm interested in, but definitely Ghost and Spider-Man, I think, is the main one. And then, of course, Nintendo. Who knows what they're going to show? Smash Brothers is the obvious thing, but I'd love to see something with Metroid Prime 4. And, if they have any gameplay at all, or just a trailer of it.
Yeah.
Because, that is an awesome franchise. But, yeah, it seems like this will be an interesting E3 just in general, because we kind of know what Sony and Nintendo are going to do, and they may have a surprise here and there. And, of course, we have a discussion of Bethesda and this and that. They have their games. And we have Anthem with EA. That's one I'm like to see how that actually is a year later. But Xbox would be to me, the most exciting one, because, it's so much they could do, and you really have no idea. So hopefully they blow people away. But like I said, it's just good to keep expectations low, but there are some things I'm expecting to see, but also just, hey, waiting to see what they have. And I think that's really going to determine this whole thing with Matt Booty and the stuff he said in the article, and just what their vision is.
Yeah, I was going to say, before anybody else goes, we still have Knuckles and Moxie. I was going to say, you guys you sound like you're actually keeping your expectations in check, and like you're not blowing things out of proportion. What's wrong with you? That's not what gamers are supposed to do.
30 new IPs from Microsoft, but they don't. I'm going.
But they got to be AAA.
Yes, triple. No. They have Quintet A, 5 A's now.
They got to have that 5. That's still not going to be impressive enough.
No, they got to borrow 2 A's from Sony, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
They don't deliver. I'm going to stay on Twitter. I'm on my Xbox, but secretly I'm going to keep it and still play my games.
Just change your name.
Yeah. I did forget there's one game I love. There's one game I love. It's Super Lucky's Tale 2. that would drop the bomb at E3. Like,
I mean,
or,
if everyone got excited for
outrage.
Knack 2, why can't we get excited for Super Lucky
I
Stars?
know, man.
Well, you know what's funny about that? You mentioned Knack 2. I was actually going to say something about this at some point. So people are saying we need to see Microsoft put more behind pushing out sequels to games that they've introduced this generation and last generation. And we're not. Are we seeing that on Sony's side? I mean, you got the soft reboot of God of War, but all we really have sequel-wise is Knack 2 on there. Maybe Bloodborne 2. We'll find out here pretty soon. But that's it. That's all you have. So it's an interesting double standard there.
Yeah, as far as sequels, you only see them for third party and second party. But if I recall correctly, what was a game by Guerrilla?
Horizon, yeah.
Horizon?
No, not that one. The first person.
You're talking about Killzone.
Yes, Killzone.
Yeah.
That came out like 2013. Haven't seen the last of that since. What else came?
Yeah.
Infamous Second Son. Haven't seen another one since then.
Sadly, I really liked the Infamous series too. I really liked the first two. I want to play Second Son. And
I remember I brought it up to somebody, and they said, "Well, since they make sequels because they're going to a new IP, that's the name of the business." Like, so we get those sequels. That's
they
bad.
never did a sequel to Haze.
Yeah.
Although Haze was pretty bad, but still.
Yeah, it's a weird double standard. If we get no sequels, it's bad. If they don't as well, it's good. And I understand to get a new IP at the same time, but it's still. Would you like to see the continuation of some of those games as well?
Yeah, because I've seen people say that, and they're like, they wish they would spin off from Halo and Gears, or maybe they do a different IP instead of that. I'm like, that's what makes Xbox. So people like it is Halo and Gears. So it's just like they have God of War and Uncharted and Last of Us. They like those games. So it's not those studios doing something different. It's these others, because Killzone didn't really do so well the last one, so they tried Horizon, and of course that's so huge. I'm wondering if they'll even go back to Killzone anytime soon. They're probably working on Horizon sequel or something.
Wasn't there a rumor about that recently? Killzone?
Yeah, I know I heard something about that, but of course you never know with rumors. But I mean, it would be cool to see do that, because that's an interesting thing. With these companies, you see how Sony is so strong with the third person action adventure, and then Xbox is good with their side. It's kind of like, you kind of want to see both. It would be good if they actually had, an awesome first-person shooter on Sony's side, and then of course, where everyone's wanting Xbox to have a great third-person action adventure kind of game.
Yo, real quick, is SOCOM first person or third person? I never played.
It was third person.
Okay, well, there's rumors of that coming back, so
they gotta bring that back. They have Siphon Filter. They have SOCOM. They have a lot of things they can do. Yeah,
definitely. So if they bring that back, that would be definitely a big win for Sony as far as their players. If that's something they want to play as well.
No, definitely agree. Before Moxie is requested to go last on this, so that's interesting. We'll see what's coming from Moxie. Knuckles, will go into you if you haven't gone yet.
Okay. For my expectations, there's a lot I want to see.
3 hours later.
Yeah, 3 hours. From Nintendo, I want to see more of Smash Brothers. It's obviously we're gonna see more Smash Brothers because they've been hyping it up, and I want to see if they're gonna, with them already showing off and teasing, let's go Pokemon, let's go Pikachu, and let's go Eevee. I want to see if they're gonna show the workings right now of what's been known as Pokemon Stars or the other Switch project that they have, because I want to see if they're gonna do something really big for the hardcore Pokemon fans on Switch. I want to see what more they're gonna do. Of course, the other biggest thing that we want to see more is Metroid Prime 4. I love the Metroid Prime series. It was really unique what they did with that, how they took that in a much different direction. That right there with the Prime series is the foundation of innovation and transforming your series. They took Metroid Prime, which was what helped create a genre with the Metroidvania. You run across a map, collect new stuff, and go back to new areas and older areas you were been in. But they took that side-scrolling aspect, made it 3D and a first-person shooter, and it worked phenomenally well. That's something unique. I want to see what other crazy things that Nintendo's going to do. I want to see the biggest things that they've been teasing, and I want to see that pay off. Of course, they're going to have all their indies and smaller things, and that's perfectly fine. That's what I expect out of Nintendo. But I want them to show what's the big stuff that they've been teasing for a while. As from Sony, their press conference is an hour. 4 games are going to get 10 minutes of that, so 20 minutes worth of fast footage. I don't know what I would expect out of them, but one thing that I do want to see is, I'm kind of right there with Easy. I want to see more of Ghost of Tsushima. I love Sucker Punch Studios. I've stated multiple times, I don't like Sony as a company, but I love what they do with their studios. They let their studios be creative. Sucker Punch did, Sly Cooper back in the day. Then they went and did Infamous, and that series. I love the Infamous series. Now they're doing something new with the Ghost of Tsushima. I want to see what that is because one, I'm a nerd. I love Japan. I love the aspect of this possible Ronin samurai style game that they're going to do. And with the way that they've done these kind of beat 'em ups and actions in their games, I want to see how that translates into this. I want to see what they're going to do with something like this. Death Stranding, I'm a Hideo Kojima fan. I love the absurdity of it. I can explain to you the story of Metal Gear. We're going to be here for 24 hours, but I could do it. I want to see what absurdity he does with this because it has me so interested. It has me so piqued. Of course, I want to see Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I want to support the studio. That's why I'm looking forward to them because what Insomniac does, their games are always so unique. They're always so well done. Their humor in all their games have always been sublime. Look at what they did with the Ratchet and Clank series when that first came out. And then they got to take that humor, go full on with it, didn't have to use any windows, and took it to 11 when they did Sunset Overdrive. Now they're going into a character within the Marvel Universe who's been known for making jokes, for having that absurdity. Spider-Man is a perfect fit for them, and I want to see them do something really well with it. I want to see past, some of the crafted gameplay that they showed off before and the obvious cinematics. I don't care about the QTEs. I'm perfectly fine with QTEs. I think QTEs can sometimes add a very cool element. Anyone play Ninja Blade back on the 360? Fun. It was also in Rise Son of Rome. Perfectly fine with that. I want to see what they do with this because it's a character that was perfect for their level of craftsmanship, what they've done with that kind of humor and what they do. As for what else Sony could do, I would be honestly surprised. Maybe they'll show off more of the Medieval remaster. I enjoyed Medieval growing up. Not a lot of people know Medieval. I'm pretty sure Op doesn't know about Medieval or half the other people on my show because the fact that
okay, we're doing this now. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know anything older than us, Op.
A few things every now and then, but
yeah, whatever. But I want to see more of what they're doing with it. It's not a full-on reboot. It's not a full-on remake. It's just a remaster of the old. But I want to see what they're doing it to modernize it, even if it is just the first one made again as just a remake of the first one way back from the days of the PS1. I want to see what they do with that. As for anything else, SOCOM would be a perfect military shooter. That would be great to see. I would love to see that. That's a series that has been on ice. Siphon Filter. I want to see Gabriel return. He is one of the godfathers of the stealth genre, right along with Solid Snake, who's now retired because Kojima's departure from Konami. All we have is Sam Fisher. And, that's with Splinter Cell. We know Splinter Cell's coming. Maybe we'll get to see that. There's talks that with Ubisoft's friendship with Microsoft, that they're going to get the marketing rights. And there's been plenty of rumors about a new Splinter Cell game. I would love to see Splinter Cell make a comeback. What they did with Blacklist and Conviction, I loved that transformation. Yeah, it took away a little bit from the full slow stealth of like Chaos Theory and Pandora Tomorrow, but I think it kept just enough of the stealth, made it a little bit more action, and gave it that intensity that would work for a game like Splinter Cell. They did the same thing even with Metal Gear in certain aspects. We've seen it with Metal Gear 5. We saw it with a little bit of Metal Gear 4. With the way that you can actually do full-on stress and cause wars and combat zones between the two NPC groups in there. There's so much that's going to be coming out that I'm looking forward to from Microsoft. We've seen rumors since back in January of what could be coming. I would love to see Joanna Dark come back. Perfect Dark is a perfect franchise. They have Rare. They have a great studio out there in Brighton and the UK that can do some of these games. There's talks about Fable. While everyone hated Fable, especially with the Kinect game, I personally enjoyed the Fable Journey Connect game because the fact that it added an interesting aspect to the lore and what was the possible future. Now, what they did with Legends, yeah, it wasn't that great. I played in the beta. I can attest to that. While it was enjoyable, the 4v1 aspect wasn't a genre that was going to take off. It had its aspects, but it was just completely, down from there. And Mega just in the chat brought up Twisted Metal. That's a Sony franchise
that.
Yeah, that's a Sony franchise that hasn't been touched in a while. They tried to do that reboot back in 2012 on the PS3 with that big like 30v30 with like the full-on battle royale aspect where you had to protect the leaders of the dolls or the clowns, but that didn't work very well. You know, I would love to see them do a different try around, especially with Dave Jaffe saying that he would love to go back to it. You know, now would be the perfect time to maybe work something out with him, because Dave Jaffe left Sony years ago and was doing his own thing. But you know, we obviously want to see the big stuff from Microsoft. We want to see these series that is what really kind of kickstarted a lot of people's love back in the OG and 360 eras. You know, of course, Fable. You know, they want to see the new Halo, the next Gears, stuff like that. But I also want to see them experiment. I really want them to branch out and let some of these studios do something unique, do something different. You know, that's why we're hearing that they're doing a lot of new studios. They're buying up new studios. They're creating new studios. They're taking certain teams from one big studio and letting them make another smaller studio to experiment. There's the talks of, I can't remember which spin-off that Playground is supposed to be doing, or that there's one rumored out, but I want them to experiment with their games, kind of like what Sony does with their studios. When you experiment and let them do something different, it helps to breed new creativity and new innovation and lets them get new ideas for something unique to take back into the main series, to add new aspects. That's a wonderful thing to do, but you know, yes, they understand about taking certain risks and having how it's going to pay off. But at the same time, without taking a lot of risks, you're not going to be able to bring new audiences and new people into your ecosystem, into your to your console or anything like that, if you don't let the studios do something special, if you don't let them try and do something different. Because when they do and they see what you're willing to experiment with, it helps out. Look at what they did with Cuphead. Cuphead was a massive gamble and that paid off fairly well. You know, that we need to see more of those kinds of aspects take off. What they did with State of Decay. State of Decay was a team of what, 10, 12 back in the day when they released it on the 360. Now they're a team of what, 25 that did State of Decay 2?
About 35 or so, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of investments and risks they got to take, but they need to do more. They need to definitely invest in it. And we're seeing that they're trying to reach out more to third parties. Look at what they recently did back in March when they had Sega execs come in from Japan and sit down at the Microsoft campus and meet with Phil Spencer and others.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, I was right about that.
Yeah. And that's a good sign, because think about the kind of studios and the franchises that Sega has that would be great to bring over, that were previously only Sony or that haven't been touched in a while. That'd be great. I want them to do a proper Panzer Dragoon. I would love them to actually bring back a proper Panzer Dragoon game. I've said it before, and I would yell and scream if they made this announcement. I want them to bring over the Yakuza series. The Yakuza series, while only having been on PlayStation for the longest time, they're recently getting remasters of every game in the franchise for the PS4. It would not be hard to do a port of that for the 360. The Yakuza franchise is a great game that would be a great series too, especially for a beat 'em up that's a 3D fighter that most people haven't seen before. It has so much to do. They really put a lot of content in that, from side mini games as well as great story. That would be a perfect game to bring over, as well as look at the fact that their subsidiary is Atlas. Atlas has brought over games in the past to Xbox. They did the Catherine games. They also are the ones who do Persona and Shin Megami Tensei, as well as, you know, their Trauma Center games that were only on Nintendo. That can bring over Persona 5, as well as some of those other games that they're going to be getting. There's so much possibilities from what we've seen.
Supposedly they will have Japanese games on stage.
Exactly. That's why I feel, because look at what they did last year with Bandai with debuting Dragon Ball Fighters. That was a massive thing that blew a lot of people away.
That was clutch for Xbox last year, showing Dragon Ball Z5. That was amazing.
When I saw Fighters, I was tripping out because, one, I love Arc Sys. I do enjoy Guilty Gear, and what they were doing with Dragon Ball, that game was phenomenal. It looked exactly like what you'd expect out of the manga or animes. well done, and they got to debut it. That's what they should be doing. That's the kind of moves that they need to be making. And I think this year we're really going to get that out of them, because this year, the message that they need to bring, y'all have the hardware. Now here's the games. That's what they need to display. Maybe they can show off, the Elite Controller 2 or some of the other smaller hardware or accessories that people want. But this year they need to really make it truly about the games, kind of like what they did last year with all the ID at Xbox games. That
42 games last year. That wasn't good enough for you?
Oh no, that was perfect. But I'm saying now they're going to double down on it. That's what they have to do.
Yeah. Well, they got 2 hours. So man, what are they going to do this year?
Think about last year. They spent like 30 minutes or so talking about the 1X and really showing that off.
Was it 30?
It was about
30.
It was a while.
15, 20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put some time into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to see from them.
You're gonna have to jump in and cut Knuckles off because he's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
I was about to say, Boxy, you take over. I told you.
Yeah.
So I don't have a ton
something?
on this, but go ahead, Easy.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, to go long, I was going to mention, I don't want to go on too long, but I definitely want to see some fruition of, the Sega visit and the Japan visit, seeing some of those. That's what makes PS4 so good, because a lot of them aren't even like exclusives to them. It's just, there's such a big market in Japan that a lot of those Japanese games just go there, by default and never get brought over. So, I mean, it'd be great to see some of those. And I could go an hour about Sega games because I love Sega growing up. It'd be awesome to see some of those franchises reborn. But yeah, that'd be like the extra from, what I said earlier. Yeah, I don't know if they will have them, but I do expect some of that happening. I don't know what it will be, but it would be awesome. I love to see some more Sega franchises be brought back to life besides Sonic.
Yakuza would make me cry literal happiness. That's what I'm leaving it at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you go ahead, Moxie. We're done now.
Okay, so I don't have a whole ton on predictions and estimations. I have a little bit, but I have a really important question for everyone that I'll ask after my little bit of prediction. So I do get the sense that Microsoft does have a new game or a couple of new games coming that are like big projects, because as much criticism as they're getting for supposedly not having games, like they're completely calm. They've got 2 hours scheduled. What's interesting is Sony's only got they're basically taking a completely different approach. They're like, oh, we're going to announce something every day, and then we're going to do 1 hour. And I get the sense from that they're trying to slow the hype train way down. Like they're intimidated by what Microsoft is going to do, or they don't have anything super big coming, or they just have one big thing and that's like their hour that they're going to do. Because we've never seen them do it this way before. So I hope that Sony's got a couple new games coming. I hope we see gameplay for some of the ones that they've been talking about for a long time. And I really hope we see release dates for them, because right now Sony's not giving a release date on any of these games that seem to be ready. So I guess my hope for Sony this year is we actually get dates. We see something new. We see advancement in the things like Death Stranding that have been just like going on forever. And then I hope that Microsoft has something new. My big question is, what is the big message? And actually, Knuckles just answered this, that we need to see from each company. Like, what's the thing besides all the things that they show that you want Microsoft to say? Like, what does their mantra need to be that they bring forward? And then what does Sony need to say? What is their big overall message about where their brand is going that we need to see this E3?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. To me, it's one of those, I think it's all in Microsoft's court, because really if Sony and Nintendo had like terrible E3s, it really wouldn't impact them hardly at all, because you already know those big games are coming from Sony. Nintendo, the same thing. They can just show, Nintendo can go straight show Smash Brothers the entire time like they did Zelda a couple years ago. And it'll be the best E3 ever for a lot of fans. Yeah, they could. But I think Microsoft, it kind of goes along with the Matt Booty article. I think people want to see not just games in general, but big AAA, because we got a lot of games last year, and a lot of people, we may love them too, like Cuphead and all that, and we've got Ashen and then Below. Hopefully they'll show some of that off in E3, but I know people are always critical of the big AAA games, like, hey, what are like Fable or some new IP? They really want to know that. So I think it'd be huge for Microsoft to say, hey, we're here for games, and like we're devoted to single player. And that's why I think Xbox has been good this gen, because I believe they listen to the fans in general. I mean, they hear complaints and they seem to try to address one thing at a time. And they've got the hardware now finally, and they got everything. Really, the only thing now is just big AAA first-party games. And I think that would be the main message is, hey, we're about this. We're not about, the fears that people have about different things. It's just, hey, we got some great games coming. And I think that would be what really would please the fans, just showing, some big games. And I mean, I hate for them, it'll be years away, because I'm one of those, I hate waiting like years and years for games, because I mean, we got like the whole Final Fantasy VII remake situation. I mean, that was years ago, and that was amazing E3 because of that. It's probably another 5 years away. I hate to see but yeah, that too, Shenmue, the Final Fantasy VII remake and all these, and it's just, I hate seeing that. So I like to see some games, and it's just one of those, for me, I'm fine, a year or two out, because I want to know what's coming. I hate to be, that game looks awesome. It'll probably be 5 years before I play it. But sadly for the general public, I might take some of that. Like, hey, here's a awesome first. I think probably the biggest thing is everyone harps so much about our role-playing games and the big third-person action kind of game. I think if they had one of those, even if it's years away, you have to show that, because that'll be like, hey, we've got this kind of game too. And it may be Fable. I've heard rumors about Fable could be the reboot kind of thing, where it's Fable, but it's not a typical Fable game. It could get the reboot treatment like God of War did or Tomb Raider did. And that'd be pretty cool if it was like more a bigger RPG feel. Who knows about that? But that's just really, to me, I think Xbox is, of course, the big focus, because the other ones, I don't think they really need a big E3. We already kind of know what they may show, and the fans, that's good. Because I think Sony did that years ago when they had that big blowout E3. They're like, hey, we dropped the ball. They're all in development, but hey, here's some big games coming. It got everyone hyped and excited. So I don't know if it really would take Microsoft doing that, but to me, that's definitely something they need to probably do more of, to kind of have the game plan of what they're showing.
Yeah, her question kind of goes into one of the things we had on there. It was, what do we think the big message needs to be from each of these two companies in particular, from Sony and Microsoft? Or do they even need a message? Are they just doing what they are supposed to be doing? They're doing well right now, as a lot of people seem to think Sony is doing. What's your take on that, Easy? Do they need to stand there, have Matt Booty come out on stage, or Phil or someone else, and say, here's our roadmap, here's where we're going? Or do they need to just show the games? What's your take? And we'll go down the line after you, Easy, since you were just talking.
Yeah, but see, I think a little mix of that. They don't have to like go straight out here. Here's the next 5 years. But I think just showing, hey, these are some big games we have coming. Like I said, if there is a Fable, even if it's years away, just say, hey, we've got Fable here. We got, some of these big games coming. And, show the games that are coming. If they hopefully have some in the next couple of years coming, do that. But I think, like I said, it really does depend kind of how far away some of these games may be. If it's a while before we really do see another big AAA game, you might have to do like a roadmap. But I don't think you don't need to show like forever, almost how like Sony did, because there's games coming, Horizon sequel and a lot of that coming, but you don't really need to focus on that because they have these 4 big games coming in the next few years. So I think, of course, you'll have Halo 6 and probably Gears 5 and then Forza and all those big ones. But hey, I think it would be good to kind of appease some of the people that think it's only those games, to have like maybe some kind of roadmap just to show, hey, we do have some big games coming. We're fine, Brent, do it, because I believe they have. I mean, you see the complaints online all the time. We know they do. So I think they just need to kind of quiet those, people think. I still see people troll like, oh, Microsoft's probably just show a new controller and blah, 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 this C3. I'm like, oh, you really think they're going to do that?
Well, they might, actually.
Yeah, I think it will, but I don't think it will just be that. I mean, they're going to have some games coming.
Yeah.
They are, we don't know. But.
What I think is funny about that, what you just bring up, is the people that conflate the different things. They think because they showed a new Elite controller, that means they took away development from games, as if the developers are not working on the games anymore. Like, we got to work on this controller in the sweatshops.
Yeah, it's the same people. Yeah, the people that worked on the X are the ones that were going to work on the new Fable, but they're busy with hardware.
That's been bugging me for like the longest. Like, people take something and misconstrue with something else. Like, perfect example, the latest development was these Miami Streets, whatever it's called, the game, really recent Windows 10. People are saying, like, we could take that money and put towards a new AAA game. I'm saying, like, do you not realize the money that went to that game could probably pay off my tuition for college? They could not fund that for a AAA game. It doesn't work like say they were controllers. The team that makes controllers is completely separate from the division, the devs that make the games. They have nothing to do with each other. The money doesn't mix. The resources go to each of them have nothing to do with each other. So if you take one and put the other, It's literally
Also, well, not
just
only
waste.
that. I mean, you're making good points. Dealey's in the comments. He's made several good comments today. He said it's a shared budget. And in essence, you're right, Dealey's. But the way they allocate the money for the hardware is years and years ago. It's not 2017. That it didn't come out of 2017. The X was, they were first talking about it in 2012. Literally over a year before the Xbox One came out, they already were talking about, here's what we got to do. We got to revamp this thing. We've got to make it super powerful. There's going to need to be a refresh. They knew that even then because they saw how weak the specs were for both the PS4 when they leaked. I don't know if you guys remember this. They actually leaked in February 2012, specs for the PS4 and the specs for the Xbox. And the frequencies that they were using were much lower than what they ended up being. But even back then, we knew that wasn't going to be powerful enough hardware. That's where something like the X comes into play and something like the S comes into play. They are already working on their next things. I've seen enough information from people I trust to know that that is absolutely in development. That's coming. That money, again, was allocated prior. So the money that they're talking about putting into games right now, that they're mentioning in some of these interviews that we've been talking about, that's actually coming out of right now. So it is kind of like you said, a shared budget, but it's from different time periods.
Exactly.
But here's the other thing that nobody ever talks about. The things that cause Microsoft to profit the most are the things that fund these games we keep talking about. And they have always done so well on accessories. It makes them tons of money. So the thought process of like, oh, a new controller, that's going to take away from our games is exactly opposite of what's really going to happen. That's going to fund their next project because those sell like hotcakes. Like when the Elite came out, the vocal minority all over the internet's like, oh, this thing's not going to sell. Nobody will ever pay $150 for a controller. And then boom, it sells out because the people who aren't talking are like, this thing is awesome.
For 5 months after it released, it was still hard to find and selling for $200 on eBay.
Yep. I couldn't get one until they did the second round when they made the Gears of War Elite controller for the launch of Gears 4.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, definitely. So we had Easy went Operation. You want to go on what they need to focus on, or did you kind of do that already?
Oh, I can go into it. It's kind of like what K-Maker said in the chat. As far as Xbox, they need to focus on they're making more big AAA big budget games for them. Right? Possibly bring back sequels, but right now there's only one sequel they can bring back. That's Quantum Break 2. Everything else is borderline impossible at this point.
Everything else is what?
Borderline impossible because right now Sunset Overdrive 2 is not coming anytime soon because
you don't think that Insomniac can start work on a Sunset next year when they're completely done with Spider-Man? Because I don't know that they have another AAA project.
I think they're doing 2 or 3 expansions for Spider-Man. They did state that they were doing some story expansions for it, but it is definitely possible unless they do it at some studios and keep a small dedicated team to work on that while the rest go to the next project. If they were to reach out to them and say, hey, let's do this and actually, fund it, it is possible that they could start working on it next year.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely possible. But I'm thinking, like, as far as Insomniac's MO, if they're really working on Sunset Overdrive 2 right now, they wouldn't, I don't know if they dedicate, a good portion of their team to work on that because they're focused on Spider-Man right now. Maybe a small team if they want to do that. But I'm really not sure. And if they were, I don't think they would show at E3 because we know Microsoft, they don't show nothing too far in advance. So if they're going to start working on Sunset Overdrive next year, we probably won't see anything a year or 2 afterwards because they won't tell you about it as soon as it releases. As far as Rise 2, impossible. I'm pretty sure Tech and Microsoft are on good things right now, especially after with Rise 1 because they want if I remember correctly, they want to own IP. They said no. Then Microsoft trying to stop funding for them, and they try to work on their own, making engines.
Yeah, Microsoft plays hardball. They don't mess around.
Yeah. So Rise 2. Unless they did something behind the scenes, we're not going to see that. So I guess as far as sequels, we're not going to see much of anything from those. I guess OG Xbox One sequels. Of course, they're going to bring new IP. I just which ones, but go ahead. Easy.
I forgot about Recore. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a possibility of a sequel.
Oh yeah,
Recore 2.
Well, I think they already stated that they're going to be doing this Recore 2.
Oh yeah, definitely. As far as Sony, keep doing what they're doing. As we see in their first party, the little bit of last what trickles into the foundation of each of them, and that's what their hardcore wants. That's their fan base wants. So just keep doing that. Just don't botch the PS5 when it comes out, like they do on PS3.
How could they botch it by boxing in the PSVR?
Maybe.
Ooh, that'd be hilarious if that happens.
Or no backwards compatibility, probably. That would be, I think, really bad if they didn't.
They're really outrageous, but I don't think it'll make a dent.
I feel like they'll do backwards compatibility. I feel like it's not after Microsoft kind of paved the way, showing how it can be done. Other people figure it out over time. It takes a little while, but they'll figure out how did they do that. And I do think that they're gonna offer something for backwards compatibility, maybe even sooner than next gen, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, I really hope they do, because I would love backwards compatibility on PS4, but all you have is PSN, and we all know how that is right now.
Yep.
As far as Nintendo, just don't completely drop support for the Switch, and they're fine. They're really doing everything right now. They're killing the hardware. Their exclusives, as y'all mentioned in one of your videos prior, attach rates is phenomenal. The best in the industry right now as far as
incredible attach rates. And we had, you know, what's funny about that video is we had people in the comment section saying, well, you know, there's no correlation here. None of this stuff matters. If you look at Nintendo's numbers, clearly it matters because they had great attach rates with their first party software during the Wii U. So they ended up making money. They actually talked about this in interviews. They said, we need to sell one of our first party software games with a Wii U to break even. When we sell the second one, that's all profit for us. So that's really what those companies are good at. Nintendo's great at it. It's funny that people think that it doesn't matter for Sony. Sony, again, like I said earlier, in an interview, they've said that only 4 out of every 10 games they put out end up being profitable. So clearly, attach rates are a bigger deal than I think people want to give credit for. Moxie and I both worked for companies where that was something that we actually had to do like long training meetings over in like 7-8 hour meetings talking about attach and what that stuff means and what it means to margin, profit margin, bottom line, operating income, all of these things, return on investment. It's very important. It's just the consumers, the gamers, we're just worried about the game. So we're not worried about all that stuff. So we can lose sight of it. We're just trying to, Moxie and I are just trying to offer a little bit more of insight to what's going on behind the scenes and how important that stuff is. But thank you for mentioning that.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. It's just funny how these fanboys they'll literally fall on the sword just to defend their console, and it's like, these don't matter. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure if they don't get no money, the lights get shut off at Naughty Dog if they don't get any money coming in through their game. It's not high enough attach rate for them to sustain the company right now and create more sequels and more IPs. Like I'm pretty sure you know how this stuff works, but if you don't want to like backtrack now just to save face, it I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, definitely. Knuckles and Moxie, which one of you wants to go on that? Are they good? Does Microsoft need to say anything? Does Sony need to lay out a message, a roadmap, anything for the future? Because we're hearing a lot of that on Twitter.
I have a different want for Microsoft because Microsoft really knows what their business is doing. And I feel like that is the message that they somehow need to convey along with a message of balance. Like Microsoft does really well on their big blockbusters. And, you know, people have been saying like, oh, Gears is done, Halo's done, Forza's done. And it's like, no, you're buying every single one of them. You're playing hours and hours and hours of every single one of them. So they do need new games, but they are doing the right thing when they're putting all that money into their existing franchises. They're doing the right thing when they're putting out their controllers and their accessories. Like they need to somehow deliver the message that like it's all coming. We're looking at where the money comes. We're looking at active users and what they're doing. And we are truly delivering the things that on the back end, you can't see what we see, but we see that these are the things that are going to make the company successful. Because what cracks me up, and it's part of a topic later, but it's so funny that people, all these recommendations that people are making for what Microsoft should be doing, they're all the recommendations that would like, if we completely went that route, Xbox would be gone in 5 years if we were listening to half these people and what their advice is for Xbox. So I feel like Microsoft needs to say, we look at the numbers, we have the data, we know what marketing strategies are best, we know which games make the most money, we know that games as a service makes money, our accessories are funding our new IPs, like they need to convey a message of balance. Sony, I think, needs just a little bit more of a message of like delivering on what they have going, because they've had all these things just floating and floating, no release dates. You know, they're changing how they're doing their shows. They're turning into less of like a big thing now. And they're trying to like take away the hype train behind the shows. It's like they're trying to mellow out everything.
They're getting smaller, right?
And I think they need excitement. Yeah, it's like they're downsizing and we need more like excitement, dates. Here's what we're doing. Here's what's in the works from Sony. But I think Microsoft conveying a message of balance is the most important thing.
Okay, that's really good. Knuckles.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is as I kind of touched on it with E3 with my E3 projections is that Microsoft right now needs to show their dedication, which is what they've been pushed for, but they need to double down on the dedication to games. They've built the services, they've built the hardware, they've built the ecosystem. That's phenomenal. Now they need to show that they're dedicated to both single player, multiplayer games, despite how some people feel is that they need to show that it doesn't matter. Right now, the only thing that matters is games, that they're going to be bringing it here within the next few months to the next year and so forth. You know, they don't need to go 3, 4, 5 years out like they did before, but show, hey, this is what we got lined up for the next 1.5 to next 2 years. You know, we're doubling down on everything that we wanted to do, that we want to show. This is what they really need to do. They need to keep that balance. They've done such a phenomenal job of keeping that balance, of keeping both multiplayer games, keeping both single player games. They need to show that. Whereas what Sony's thing that they need to do, they need to show a message of variety. Now, some people may think, what the hell do I mean by variety? While their games are great, some of them, especially a lot of first parties, start falling in that same category of doing the same thing. They fall into the aspect of the Marvel complex, the Marvel syndrome. Everything is just a cookie cutter of the last thing. We kind of saw that when they got kind of ripped apart for Days Gone. I want Days Gone to do good because it looked cool, because it was what I had hoped of a World War Z type game when they first showed it off, with those floods of hundreds and hundreds of zombies just rushing the dude. But what they showed off, you know, earlier was not giving me that same feel. They need to show the variety. They get that from the third party, not always from the first party. So I want them to really show, hey, we got great multiplayer games in the works. We got great, new RPGs in the works, that we're going to make a great shooter, not just this third-person action adventure game with every game that comes out ever. That doesn't work. You know, eventually people are getting tired of that genre. They want something different. That's what they need to do. Nintendo, they're unique because of the fact that they don't really have to make a statement, because of the fact that they have a mix right now. Is they need to show, hey, we are making the changes that a lot of people want. We know that they announced their online services. Give us a glimpse of how it's going to work. Let's not be stupid and have to use 3 cords and a phone and a tablet to use party chat and that damn thing. Show us what you're going to do to improve that. They have the variety. They have games like from Splatoon for a multiplayer aspect. They're coming out with Smash. They have Zelda. They have Mario. Maybe they'll announce a new Kirby or something. They have that uniqueness already of dipping into every genre and aspect. They're the ones who need to show, hey, we are going to try and make the services better for our people, for our ecosystem. That's what theirs is. What's funny is that each one has a solid piece that another company is lacking. So they all have to kind of really look at each other. Like I stated, Microsoft has the ecosystem, they have the services, they just need the games. Sony has the games, they just don't have the variety. They can improve their services a little bit more. Nintendo has the games, they have the variety, they just need services. They all need to really learn from each other. And lately, from what we've heard with Microsoft and Nintendo's relationship, is they're helping them to get an aspect of helping them with their online infrastructure. If Nintendo can get help for their online from someone like Microsoft, who does this for a living and has solid services like Live, they would be in a much better spot.
Yeah, that was a good points. And I think Jago, if you want to go, let me know, easy. Jago in the chat is definitely feeling what you're saying, because he says, I love Microsoft first-party games, but Microsoft has got to diversify and realize single-player games are still important. So definitely some sentiments from the chat about that. Anybody else want to go on that?
Well, I was going to say, because I know like last year is a good example of like Sony's really good with the certain like the third-party action adventure, but I think what each company lacked, they kind of try to make up for in the third-party marketing deals, because Sony was huge. They got Destiny 2, they had Call of Duty, they got all those. Besides Red Dead, I think most of them, Battlefront, they're all shooters. So they're like, hey, we'll have shooters for marketing, but we're really good at doing the story-based games. While Microsoft, they seem to be good with shooters, but then their big marketing deals with Shadow of War, Assassin's Creed, these kind of action adventures. So it's like, Yeah, the city, they're kind of like, oh, we're weak in that, so let's have marketing for games at least. But that's what I do think, though, like you said, variety, I would like to see that because, Sony, and people love the games, Sony's good with that, but it does seem you may get close to cookie cutter aspect where, hey, every game follows that template because, hey, they're good. It would be good to see, like I said, Killzone or another game like, hey, let's have a first-person shooter come out or even an RTS. I know it's not a big genre, but I actually love Halo Wars 2 because, hey, it's something different. I don't have an RTS kind of game. And
Halo Wars 2 is criminally underrated, man. I love that
too.
game.
Yo, Atriox, everyone said that Atriox is a phenomenal villain that they really hope he shows up in the future. And I think that's something amazing. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great to see. I mean, I think he'd be a perfect villain to have in Halo 6 if they want to tie that in together somehow. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I love that. But yeah, I love to see variety. And I know there were some talks about Microsoft Nintendo. You're mentioning that about, helping with the infrastructure. But I don't know if there's any rumor about that they can potentially, it seems like they can almost be kind of like allies. They're trying to help each other out. I don't know if there's anything that could happen at E3 where, hey, Microsoft is helping them out. Like, hey, let's have Banjo-Kazooie be in a game like Smash Brothers or something. And maybe they swap out or help out. Kind of how Ubisoft did last year. They came out of nowhere with the whole Rabbids Mario game. That'd be kind of cool to see something like that. Like, hey, they're helping each other out with something. So, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool.
No, it's definitely good. Definitely good. Did anybody not go?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I think everyone went.
Okay. All right.
I have a quick question for the panel.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Do it.
So real quick, is it just me or because I know we all have different preferences and whatnot, but is it just me or have third party just have been killing in single player games? Oh, for me, there are things on Xbox I love, like Gears, the other single player, and Quantum Break. I love it. As far as PlayStation, I love the story in God of War, Until Dawn, games like that. But as far as like third party games, both of them have not come close to some of the stuff they brought out. Witcher 3, Dying Light, Prey, Assassin's Creed, man. Like I can keep going on the Wolfenstein series.
Wolfenstein did.
It's like
I really think I agree. I really think that the third party studios have really just been killing it this year. Like when you talk about Doom, that was the most well done reboot that truly paid homage to its roots. Like that was brutal, over the top, very heavy metal, exactly what you'd expect out of Doom. Then they redid it with Wolfenstein. They kept the aspects of what made Wolfenstein. It was over the top, but still very much, against Nazi. And they added a great story to it. They did a phenomenal job. Like third party, this generation has really killed it, especially Bethesda. Bethesda Studios has been really knocking it out of the park, and so has Ubisoft. Ubisoft has really stepped up their game, and they are on a comeback. And if anyone has been perfecting the major support and games as a service, Ubisoft is kind of right there up there with knowing what they're doing. They've been killing it with the support.
I was going to say that. They're perfect games as a service thing. How they've been doing Rainbow Six Siege, having the seasons.
Rainbow Six and For Honor, they kept supporting that one. A lot of people didn't really give it that much love after launch. Look at what they did with The Crew. The Crew was heavily supported. It got some real big expansions. I've been going back and loving that. They got The Crew 2 coming out. Like Ubisoft is definitely one of those top companies besides some of Bethesda studios. And I think third party this generation has really been their generation to shine. Like honestly,
I agree.
That's true.
I'm saying Rainbow Six Siege was dead, but that game came back like Solomon Grundy, man. It came out swinging. Started dropping content for a month after month, man. But yeah, as far as Ubisoft, they're definitely a top-notch developer this gen.
Oh, I agree. And we've talked about more about Xbox and PlayStation, the big, publishers, but to me, Bethesda's probably another one I love. Yeah.
It seems like generally, though, I guess people really don't think Sony needs to have a message or say that they're going to focus more on something. I think Moxie and I are the only two people that are like, actually, we felt like this generation's been a little bit sparse the entire time. Only now are we starting to get those kinds of games. Because I'm not hearing as much from the live chat or from you guys. It's mostly focused on Microsoft and what they need to do message-wise and what they need to show. But I am glad that no one is talking about needing to see a roadmap, because that makes me want to pull my hair out every time I hear people talk roadmap.
No company is going to give you their roadmap. You are not entitled to that.
Moxie knows. I told you about those meetings that we used to be in.
Roadmaps are something that
they're boring as hell.
Yes, but they don't ever fulfill the full picture. Like think about this. especially let's pull out a game company that's been, or a studio that's been trying to do roadmaps and can't follow through with that. Bungie. Destiny. You already know where this is going. With Bungie and roadmaps, they keep saying they're going to put out this at this time, this at this time, and when some of those things come out, some of those features that they say that are going to come out at this time on the roadmap with this launch ends up getting moved to another date. With roadmaps, the issue with them is that at any time those things can be inconsistent or things could change, and then people are just like, well, you said it was going to come out at this time, why do we have to wait longer? It only adds more fuel to an already burning fire that some people just don't want and it don't need. If they have their own internal roadmap, know what they're doing, give people a good idea of what's to come, why do we need to know their every make and move? We don't. Roadmaps do great in certain aspects, but they've been very open and communicative of what they're doing. Bungie had that issue with it 24/7. They weren't doing that. That's why they had to use a roadmap. And when they did, it didn't always work out. Microsoft is avoiding that issue. They don't need a roadmap. They just need to present what they are trying to do.
Yeah. And when I said that, I was mentioning earlier, I'm thinking roadmap in a different way. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you don't want to like, hey, here's everything happening in 5 years, because things can change. I mean, that Fable Legends had a roadmap, but you know how that kind of came.
Exactly.
They did the 4v1 and like, oh, we don't like that. Let's change it up. And I think Fable Legends might have done well if they had a different plan at first. I think they're trying to do the evolve method where it's 4 versus the boss, and then people that like that didn't do well, and then they're trying to change it up, and then it's just they suck so much money into it, it died. And
and that's because of the fact that they try to come in, that was an issue of them trying to follow a trend that didn't pan out. Look at all the other 4v1 games that came out at the time that just completely failed. Evolve crashed and burned at launch. It did not last more than I believe a month. There's so many games that try to do that 4v1 that did not fail. I think the only one that was semi-decent that worked all right was Dying Light. But I believe you can have more than one hunter chasing down the survivors at night if you were doing that multiplayer. But then again, it's not so overly imbalanced that the hunter can't take down the runners. You know, that one worked fairly well, and a lot of people enjoyed Dying Light. Evolve got so boring so quick.
And another instance, how many people had Battle Royale on their roadmap a year ago?
A lot.
Probably some. It seemed like when Fortnite and PUBG kicked off, now it's like, oh, they're changing up now. COD has to have it, and people want to do that because that's the thing now. So it's just, I mean, it's hard to really predict years away. I mean, so roadmap is all about just seeing the games they're actually working on is, good. But I mean, it's no way you can say, next 5 years they're planning on doing this. We can't be like Marvel. I mean, movies are so different. They're straight like, hey, here's the next 5 years. Here's all the movies we got going. Be awesome. You can't do that in games, but they're like, this date, this year, this movie's coming out. But even then, they had to switch up. Because, I remember when, just kind of get off topic, but when Marvel started showing all their movies, this before Avengers 2 came out.
You want to talk about Marvel in front of Knuckles?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I agree with them. Sometimes they show too much of their hand at once, and then people are just like, all right, well, obviously there's going to be stuff coming after this. Well, this one's not going to be as what we thought, because that's what they made the mistake with Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and then of course the Spider-Man got acquired after that, so they're like they even have Spider-Man in their thoughts. It's like, oh, now we got to move the movies around because we got Spider-Man added, and then you have to. So even then they're having to kind of rearrange and switch all the time, and then
exactly.
So
they're even getting shifted right now with the Fox acquisition. That's hopefully shifted.
Oh no,
that's another conversation for another day, bro.
Lightly touch up on it, but I'll leave that alone.
I agree.
But he makes a good point. I'm glad. Yeah, but he makes a good point. I'm glad he brought that up. Is that's another example of when you show too much of the roadmap that it does cause issues. And me and Op are avid lovers of the MCU and the Marvel series franchise movies. But when they did that before they showed off Age of Ultron years back, it really did kind of shoot them in the foot, because that kind of left a lot of mixed feelings for people when Age of Ultron came out.
And that's why I love how they're doing now, because like we know Captain Marvel's coming in Avengers 4, but we don't know what's going to happen afterwards. And they say they know what they have going, but they're not going to reveal it because it could spoil what happens. So like that's why I'm like, okay, we know what's coming.
Well, they have the Guardians and the Spider-Man movie, so apparently they're not.
There's some, yeah.
All right, well, let's get back to this though. So a couple of chat comments here. B-Rap is in there. I believe it's Enrique. Sony has been great at presenting what gamers can expect. They always have, is his comment on that. So I think that's a general thing that people just agree with as far as Sony is concerned on that. And then there was another one. I can't find it. Abacab72. By the way, who from Microsoft said their show was going to be 2 hours long? I keep hearing this is the case, but from what I
believe it was. I believe it was actually Aaron Greenberg who confirmed it.
He did confirm it. Okay.
Yeah, because they said the time from 7 to 9, and they rented out the whole. I mean, they had the theater to themselves. So I mean, it's like
Well, see, the way I'm taking it is because we're gonna be there. Knuckles and I are actually gonna be in LA. We're leaving here pretty soon. Knuckles, when are you
rubbing it in?
Outside.
Yeah. We're gonna rub it in right there off.
When are you leaving?
I'm actually leaving out to California Friday morning. And going to be there early because I am going to the EA Plays, so I'll be having stuff there.
Nice.
And then
how did you get into that? Why did they invite me?
They did free admission. You had to have registered back in like March, and they did the finalization back in May.
Okay.
I believe you should still be able to sign up.
Sneak in. I'm sneaking into everything,
If we get there, you take some footage of Anthem. It's like DM it to us, all right?
That's what I'm going there for.
Playable.
That's what I'm going for.
Anthem.
But they're going to be releasing a lot of stuff on Anthem apparently on Saturday. But I'll actually be there live for the Xbox conference. So, we'll be having that going off because the GRG family is all going to be in there.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to meet everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun. So.
Oh, yeah. So definitely looking out for that.
Well, just to close that out real quick before we move on to the final part. So the way I looked at that 2 hour window is like they just need that window to be open in case it goes long like last year. They did over 100 minutes. They weren't really planning on that originally. It was supposed to be 90 minutes, and it just kept going. It's like 105 at the very end. So they really want to make sure they have that stuff covered is what they're doing. Probably won't be exactly 2 hours, whatever you see streaming on the Mixer stream or however you watch it. I don't think it'll be exactly 2 hours, probably a little less than that. But, still impressive what they're doing with that. So moving on to the final bit, unless anyone has anything else.
Something real quick. As far as like my expectations from Sony, I really can't go too touch on what I said earlier. I can't go too deep in what I want for them because I just started gaming on PlayStation. As y'all saw me on, I just got PlayStation Pro like a week or so ago. So I really can't speak too much on their past exclusives. I haven't touched them yet. So I really speak from a general perspective. But as from what I've seen from outside looking in, from the first part, like a bigger variety, like Bloody Mansion, like more first-person shooters, branching out from what they're doing right now, which is what their family experience want. Something that's hinting close like The Last of Us. In that in that little realm of influence, stuff like that. So I love seeing branch out farther than that, but I really can't go too much into it because as I said, I just got here as far as PlayStation.
Yeah, no, understandable. All right, so last bit is we all had like a little something prepared that we're gonna do. We'll see because we're running a little long again for the third time, which is good. It's a good problem to have instead of running out of stuff to talk about and ending it early. So it's definitely good. Moxie, I believe you said you wanted to go first into what you have. Is that correct, or am I wrong? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll shorten mine because seriously, I could rant about this for 15 minutes, and I'm just not going to.
Yeah.
But
rant.
This thing that's been like half bothering me and half making me laugh really hard for the last several weeks is like, you look at like a classic example is this random conversation that happened on Twitter between Phil Spencer and like some person with, like 5 followers or something. And they asked something. I do not remember what they asked, but they were like, hey, are we going to get this particular game? And they named it or something. And Phil Spencer responds and goes, oh, I love that game. And like says a couple of things about the game or whatever. And the person replies back and says, oh, way to deflect that. And Phil Spencer goes, wasn't meant as a deflection, but it's now that you mention it. No, I'm not like announcing business deals on Twitter today, just for some random person. And I'm like, that is a classic example. Like the people that are trying to advise people like Phil Spencer right now, it's like it drives me insane, especially as an entrepreneur, but it drives a lot of people insane that are not. Like these people have all these suggestions and it's like, where are you coming from that you think your suggestions might be of the level of Phil Spencer? Like, have we thought about how much visibility these heads of these companies and these executives have and how much they know about that you've never even thought of? You've never even considered half the data that they have and that they work off of and all the things that that are coming up. It's like, it's crazy. It kind of goes into something Avers has talked about, which is like Like, what is constructive criticism and who can do that?
Yes. Yeah.
Because everybody thinks they can. You know?
Yeah, that was going to be a segment on there. I mean, he really, like, you don't see that from Phil Spencer. He's such a nice guy. He responds to people. He goes back and forth.
That was what made that so funny.
He basically said, yeah, you know what? I'm not announcing business deals on Twitter in a random tweet. That was his response to the guy, which I liked seeing that kind of thing.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it's weird that people would want that. That just happened like 2 weeks ago. It's weird that you would want that before E3. What is the trouble with being just a little bit patient and letting them show it in a grand way on a stage with a 4K screen or whatever they end up having this year? It's going to be a little different from what I've heard. So, you know, why not just wait for that? What do you need to get a little tidbit on Twitter for? I mean, we have the games to play. We all have backlogs. Let's play the games instead of.
And did you honestly think you were going to get an answer like, who are you? You know, it's like, I don't think they were asking the head of Xbox this.
Well, he said nice deflection. He's trying to poke a little fun at Phil for a moment there.
I think this is more of a bait.
And Moxie, that was the Yakuza. Yeah. He was asking about the Yakuza game.
Mm. Oh yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, yep. Yeah. I remember that correctly.
Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's actually what got me talking about it last, like 2 weeks ago on GRG, was because of the fact that was shortly after the Sega visit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That would be cool if they had that. Definitely.
Yeah.
My thing is about the constructive criticism thing she mentioned. So constructive criticism is something we're starting to hear as like a fallback for criticizing Microsoft, bashing Xbox first party, whatever it is, for long periods of time. And then when somebody gets called out on it, it's been happening a lot lately. The person will say, "Well, no, I'm just offering constructive criticism." So how do you get to a point to where you can offer that? Is it just anybody just can offer constructive criticism? Not from where I come from, not from the background that I've had. There's really only two appropriate ways to offer constructive criticism, and there's only really a couple ways where it actually even makes sense to waste your time or spend your time doing it, where it's going to be heard and understood and accepted and assimilated. One of which Moxie will have to help me because we've been talking about this and we're kind of just going off the cuff here, and I'm trying to do this a little faster than what we had planned. But one of the ways is that it's appropriate is from somebody that is in your peers. So your peer group, you have common ground on your level. Yeah. Yes. So somebody that you work with currently, someone that works at another company that is also on that level. So say Yoshida or somebody that works at Sony, that's what's his name, John Cadera, he could offer Phil some constructive criticism. He could offer the Xbox people some constructive criticism because they're doing very well. They're killing it this generation. It would make perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the only person who has enough knowledge and visibility and understanding and control over these types of operations to be constructive, because constructive criticism is criticism that legitimately creates a foundation to build from. If you know nothing about it, you're not in the industry, or even if you're in the industry, but you're nowhere near the executive level, you can't do that. It's not called constructive criticism when you do that, because Phil Spencer is not going to take this random tweet and be like, wow, you are so right. Let me build on this right now. Because every tweet I've ever seen at Phil Spencer, I'm like, you think he doesn't know that? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so the other way that it really, really works is from someone that has been there in the past, or from someone that has that is a little higher up than you, that can offer advice and wisdom and everything that comes along with being able to do that. Seeing people bash somebody on their timeline, you can just scroll through people's timeline, and they're bashing one company and one company only for a long period of time. You don't really get to say that you're offering constructive criticism. You haven't done anything to earn that level. You're not on that platform to be able to offer that kind of thing. So it's really funny that's the fallback that people are jumping to try to defend themselves whenever they finally get called out. Let's be real. Let's be what it is. It's fun to jump on a bandwagon of hate culture and bash things, and that's what people on the internet do. If you have a lot of free time on your hands, that's when it happens.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. It's just fun hearing out loud.
People are not wanting to talk about this because, some of those people have a lot of free time on their hands, so they're wasting time on the internet. Exactly. But again, what I said earlier, let's take it away from that type of thing. Let's stop preventing that we're all execs, money morning quarterbacking armchair execs and start gaming, start playing some of these games that we all have in our backlogs. We're all talking about it. So let's do some of that. And then we also have one from Operation. Do you want to go with yours?
Ooh, one definitely. So piggyback off what Avery said, as far as constructive criticism, in our perspective as gamers, talking to the execs, we really can only offer our opinions, what we like and don't like. As far as constructive criticism, talk about the ins and outs of the industry, whatnot, we expect from them, shut up. Just shut up. Like you, unless you're in a position at Avers or Moxie, you actually worked in this industry before, you know, ins and outs, you know what happens, you know what transpires behind the scenes. You really cannot criticize them on what they're doing. You can see you don't like what they're doing because you're a consumer. You don't have to do it or not. You can voice that about it. But as far as telling what they should do, you really don't have much to stand on because at the end of the day, you don't know what you're doing if you were in their shoes at that point.
Absolutely.
As well. This kind of challenges on like my thing about fake gamers or these people who just like, for one, most people who get these constructive criticism, they have no foundation, their preferences. 1 minute they think Marshall should do this, literally hours later, they're like backstepping. I'm like, no, that's not gonna work anymore. What you do is this. I'm like,
flip-flop.
Yes, but can you please just make up your mind what you want for them to do? And that's another thing. I doubt most people are saying this. They don't want them to win. They don't want to succeed at all. They don't want to offer solutions. First, what they want from Microsoft is just them to be sustainable enough to be a punching bag for them and Sony in some weird twisted fantasy that they have going on for that. And there's like another thing, because some people might try to take this spin it with my words. I'm not saying fake gamers people disagree with me or disagree with us. No, that's not that. That's just you just have a dialogue at that point. So could disagree with you. These are people who really just can't make up their mind. They follow these bandwagons. Like literally, if like a game on their preferred console comes out, the early review copies come out, and they haven't even played the game yet, they'll literally forfeit their independence, their own free mind, just to co-sign whatever anyone else is saying. Like literally, grown men are saying, "Yep, 10 out of 10, perfect game." I'm like, "Have you played?" Nope. But I trust your reviewers.
Game of the year.
Are you?
Haven't played it.
Sure? Are you sure you want to go with this? Because I'm pretty sure the last time this reviewer, the exact same reviewers, these websites get review score for a game y'all didn't. I'm sorry, a review score for a game y'all didn't agree with. You either bashed them or you're silent. Perfect example. Detroit came out. I know you and Moxie, y'all love this game. But on Metacritic, the thing everybody praised it so much as a gospel, it was like an 80, and now it's like a 79. Guess what? They're whisper quiet. They're not even talking about that. So that's why I don't even care for this Metacritic thing, because like it's someone's opinions at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, this is perfect because what you're saying. It's funny that we didn't plan this at all, like for it to flow this way, but that's exactly what Easy's thing is.
Yeah, it keeps bringing the next person in. It's hilarious.
Yeah, are you good to go so the Easy can go, or are you still going?
Yeah, we pretty much cover everything. Like people just like they don't have no foundation. Their preferences are not substantial.
They don't have a leg to stand on.
But yeah,
you really don't have a leg to stand on if you're flip flopping all the time. Or the other day, I heard somebody contradict themselves literally in the same sentence they were speaking. The back end of what they said was contradicting the first part of what they said. It's happening in a podcast. Not going to name any names, but it's out there, and it is happening a lot more often now. So it's pretty crazy.
I've seen it happen minutes apart. Like this is one thing. We'll go around that Microsoft acquired not player loans. They acquired Playground Studios, right? And I remember for months, people were saying Microsoft need to acquire more devs, need to acquire more studios to help them with this game problem that they apparently have. Then literally minutes after they posted that, they're saying, whoops, we'll get our Forza. I'm like, I'm not going to curse, but are you literally serious? You said this was a solution to buy studios, and they bought a studio. They allegedly bought the studio. It's like, let's not going to make a difference. I'm like, y'all wonder why I don't take none of y'all seriously. I'm pretty sure you don't care that well, I think, but as since you're a bunch of clowns. You're literally clowns masquerading on the internet. Y'all think you're literally just cloud chasers at this point because y'all have no foundation, no preference. Y'all just go over the windows where monkey do at this point because that's all y'all are.
Yep.
Like back to what I say, you're fake gamers. But I'll pass on Easy.
You're right. You're right. And I know Easy's about to go, but I just want to call out Lethal Papa's our newest mod in the chat, doing a great job today. And he's been saying this actually for a couple months. He did his own little research and checked out people's gamer cards and gamer score and went into some of their games, and he found out that a lot of people that are talking about some of these games a lot aren't even playing them. They're not even getting the achievements and progressing through the game at all in any way, shape, or form. So it's definitely happening. So go ahead, Easy, if you want to go with yours. That flows perfectly.
Oh yeah, that's a good segue. I appreciate that. And yeah, I could probably go on forever on this too. Just like you said, inconsistencies and hypocrisies of people But I'll probably mostly focus on like the whole Metacritic thing and just how people kind of make that the end all be all of everything. And it's just, especially just more recently, because, you know, and like I said, if you're fans of games and systems, that's fine. I mean, I know on Forza Horizon 3, it's like the first 90s Xbox game. And I mean, it's awesome. Like, hey, feels good. It actually got recognized as being, you know, a good game, even though even in that, there was like one reviewer that gave it a 5 out of 10 or like, what the heck? At least, and people knew at least they were kind of trolling. I'm like, yeah, it's not a bad game. But I mean, you see this a lot like with God of War. I mean, it's a great game. And it got 94, and you see people, hey, they changed their profile picture to be the Metascore or change, you know, names to do this and that. And and they say it's a game of the generation, game of the year. Then you see Detroit come out and didn't get as good. And I, of course, I kind of did as a joke because I changed my profile picture to be 79 when I hit that.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's great. But it's like, I saw some people even there, like, I think Detroit's one of my games of the year. I'm thinking, I mean, it's fine if you think that because it's good, but I'm thinking, wait, it's weird because it's like Meta. Because for some people, Meta critic is such a big thing. It's like, well, dang, I've seen other games that get high 70s, low 80s, and it's garbage, you know? Yeah, like, I think, was that, didn't Far Cry 5 get that? And it's like, well, that's a piece of crap. It's hit 70. And I'm just kind of like, blows my mind how people now with if it's not a 90 game, then it's trash. It's just like, it kills me. But then you see that, but then at the same time, hey, okay, a 79 meta game is game of the year for some people, but then you got State of Decay that's about 10 points less than that. If you even say it's a good game, people are like, whatever, you're damage controlling, it's not good. Like, yeah, how in the world could you, like, it's just weird, like, okay, so you can't consider that a good game. And even though it's like, that's why meta kind of throws people off, because you see that, like, what does a score mean? What does a 69 over a 72 tell you? It doesn't say anything. But you look at the reviews, it's like you got several that are 8s, 8.5, 9. But then you have several like 3. So it's like, okay, depending on who you talk to, it's either a really great game or one of the worst games they played. It just depends on the reviewer. So it's kind of like, yeah, meta, to me, it's a small indicator. It's good to kind of use that maybe as a general thing. But to me, you need to see the pros and cons and actually look at the reviews to kind of see, you know, what it's about. Like with State of Decay 2, great game. It seemed the more the glitches, the multiplayer was kind of the main thing. And it seems like they got a lot of that fixed with the latest patch. So I'm thinking if people reviewed it now, how the game is, it's no way it's a 68 game, in my opinion. I think it's way better. And that's a lot. And kind of going tying in, we were talking about, you know, games and service games and how Ubisoft games have been. I mean, you got, was it Rainbow Six Siege? Isn't that like in the 70s Metacritic?
Yep.
I can't remember what it is.
One of the most played games out there right now.
Exactly. And that's like, it's kind of bad with reviews because every game is going to be when it's launched, but they'll never go back a year from then when they have all the content. Like Halo 5 is so much different from launch. I mean, launch should even have Forge and a lot of stuff in there, and it's still like a mid-80s kind of game. But to me, I think that would be, you know, a 90 or close to that with how much content's in there and all the good stuff in there. The same with Rainbow Six Siege. I can go on and just different examples how a lot of games are usually a lot better, but someone look back at the Metascore, I'm like, well, this game is not good. It's, you know, low 70, but I'm like, that's based on when it launched and you have the updates to it. And even just even in my opinion, it seems a lot of these games have hit 90, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, but I've actually enjoyed the 70s and 80s games more than the ones that are 90s, because I guess maybe when I see a game that's in the 90s, I'm thinking, okay, it must be really good. I may judge it harsher, because then I'll play it. I'm like, there's no way this game should be 92, 93. Because I start seeing some of the flaws, but then there's a lot of games like Wolfenstein 2 and Cuphead and Ori. I'm like, how are these games not in the 90s? Just how good they are. But then you see some of these, like, I mean, I enjoy the game, but was it Shadow of the Colossus? I honestly don't think that should have been in the 90s. Just because, I mean, it was a great game and it was a PS2 game. It was good back in the day. But really on today's standards, even though it's a beautiful game, it looks good, I felt the controls are kind of off. It felt like a PS2 game. Yeah, the camera angle is weird. And it's just there's a lot of annoyances to it. I'm just thinking I'd probably give it an 8, 8.5, which is a great score.
That's
yeah. But that's how people are. It's like if you say a game is 8.5, you just called it crap. I'm like, it's just weird how gamers have got, like, how in the world have we gotten to where there's no gray area or anything. It's either best game of all time or trash. You can't have just a good, very good game. It's just, so in me, once in a while that obsession with Metacritic. And to me, it's more like a fanboy thing. You'll use that as well, this got this. And if you say another game is good or bad, or even like you said, the order. I mean, there's one reviewer I think gave it a 95, but it's like a 60s Metacritic. I'm like, wow, you really think it's like one of and it could be to that guy who reviewed it, like, hey, it's one of the best games I've ever played. I'm thinking, I don't know, it's odd, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of those weird things. I only think maybe if it's 90s or like real low, it may seem more universal. People think that, but there's just been so many instances in my personal experience where games really don't ever really match up with the meta, or I'll enjoy a game a lot more that's lower than a higher score. So to me, it's just my advice, like just use your favorite YouTuber. I mean, a lot of people I trust aren't even included in the Metacritic score. They're more, find people that have your taste. Because like I said, I can go on and on. Because I remember when was it Quantum Break, for instance, is a good example. I think there's a couple that gave it a bad review simply because they played it as a cover shooter, which I'm like, it's not Gears of War. So it's like it's weird. And I mean, Super League still is a fine game. It's not a Super Mario Odyssey, but then again, it's like people reviewing it, comparing it to that. I'm like, why are you comparing this game like it's Super Mario, and that's a great game, and then bash it off of that? I mean, like I said, that's another game I had, had some good reviews and had some average reviews. And I mean, if you like it or not, that's fine. But it's just, you see that a lot. It seems like people want to compare games either that should be compared or just, it's kind of odd. Like Quantum Break is a good action game. But because you can hide behind something, it's suddenly a cover shooter. And then it's just be like, trying to bashing Forza because, oh, you can't get out of your car and roam around. I thought you could do that.
It's like everyone has what? It's like they got this expectation. It's just like E3 the last several years. People have these wild expectations. You hear people's predictions and you're like, oh, please, when has something like that ever happened? And then they're disappointed. They're like, E3 sucked because it didn't meet my expectations. Now you're seeing that in game reviews. You're seeing that, and you're seeing like people actively be like, don't buy this game. So reviews are changing. It's getting to where people build some wild expectation in their head, play it, decide if it fit that, and then rank it as like 0 to 100 didn't fit what I thought versus did. And then, you add that to like playing and reviewing something that's not your genre at all. And it's like you love first person shooters. So then you just totally smash an action adventure game because you like first person shooters.
And I see that like someone like, I forget who it was, but John Baum, like apparently he doesn't like third person shooters.
He's not the only one. That's come out about a few of the sites. They'll put somebody on a review that
doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But then it's like me, like say, hey, I hate baseball, but let me go review MLB The Show. Of course, I'm not going to give it a good review because I don't like that sport, for instance. But it's like you'll never see that. But it's weird, like you'll have the Uncharted fan or Zelda fan review that game because hey, and that's what I want to hear it from. If you like the game, I want to see your thoughts on it because then you'll be like, I didn't like how they did this or I like this. But it does nothing for me if you don't like a certain genre and you review that game that's in that genre, because then it's just like if I hate racing games, why would I review Forza? Because obviously I may have a lower viewpoint of it. So it's just where you have like GameSpot where like, hey, millions of people are playing State of Decay 2, but why?
They should have enough people on staff that they can put the right person reviewing the right game, and too often that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So just so many factors, but it's kind of makes it meta. It's kind of like weird. I don't know. To me, I'm like, just enjoy the game for what it is. There's so many different, avenues you can do with looking at YouTube or Twitch and then Mixer and then seeing your favorite YouTubers maybe review a game. It's just like you get a good instance. And luckily I do that because if I went strictly by meta, there's a lot of games I would have gotten that I would be disappointed with. Because there's games I just flat out hated and they were 80s. I'm like, well, they said they're good, I'll try it out. I just couldn't stand it. It may not mean the game is bad or anything. It's just to me. It's kind of hard because you'll have a game that can be universally praised and someone not like it. And that means they're a fanboy. It just means, I know someone that's a hardcore PlayStation fan, he just doesn't like Uncharted. But I don't know why, but he just does it. But there it is. But people might say, oh, you're just a hater or whatever. Like, well, he's a PlayStation fan. What do you say? It's just like there's Xbox people that don't like Halo. That's fine. It's just not your style. It's fine to not like a game that's popular. It's also fine to like a game that isn't reviewed well, Yeah.
That's how it is. No, that's a great point. I think that pretty much wraps it up for what we have. We had a couple other little things. We'll try to move those to next week. So we're going to be back next Thursday, as long as everything goes well with flight plans and getting back in time. Same crew. We're going to have a couple of extra guests. It could get a little bit intense depending on what happens. Operation knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the inside info. So it's going to be really good. It's going to be basically a post E3 show from everybody here as we saw it, what we liked, what we didn't like, who won, all of the usual stuff that we usually have. And what's good is it's going on Thursday, so it's not going to be Wednesday. It's going to be on Thursday after pretty much everything is done. Thursday's the last day of E3, if I have that correct, or second to last day for people that are at the show. And so all the companies have gone with their shows. Everybody's released all the info. There's no more info coming out, so we'll have a complete like a compendium basically of everything that's happened, and we're all pretty excited for that. Again, like I said, I'll be there. Knuckles will be there. He had to dip a little bit early, but we'll see him next week and everyone here next week. You guys did an amazing job. Chat was amazing. Lethal was amazing in there. Thank you for being a mod, Lethal. Everybody had great. Anybody else want to say anything before we go?
Real quick, guys, this is apparently a trend going on right now. People will take like a clip from your podcast or your video and like take this one specific part without any context and just run with it. So if you go on Twitter and see this running and see this blowing up, I'm just letting you right now. I'm warning you, it's probably going to happen.
Oh no,
so
that's good. People have made videos about us before, and we came out pretty good because they said we did a good job and we knew what we were talking about. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. That was their feedback. Yeah.
So no, we're cool with that.
All right, I'm just letting you know it might happen. It's
It'd be funny if tomorrow it was you that did it, though.
That would be fun.
They're probably gonna do it to me. I'm ready for it. I made my peace.
Well, it's all good. We're just talking games here.
Definitely.
All righty. Well, if we're good to go here again, thanks everyone in the chat. Thanks everybody for watching. Next Thursday, that is June the 14th. Same time, as long as everybody can make it. If we have to adjust it, we'll do that. But should be good. Should be good to go. All righty, guys. That is our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah,